Ken Ghost Sword. Horror stories start with a dark, cold, rainy night, but not this story. Our story begins on a sunny morning with a guy called Kevin roaming the web at his desktop. Kevin is an antique collector who seeks valuable antiques which have a story to tell. The better the story, the faster the antique will sell. On that day, Kevin found out there is a valuable ninja sword, Katana, to be sold in an auction near his hometown. Don't ask me which country Kevin resides in. I allow your imagination to figure that out. When Kevin searches more about that piece, he learns that it has a violent history. This sword was owned by a ninja chieftain in the early 1600s and was a horrible person who eventually massacred a whole family with that sword and later ended his life using the same sword. On the day of the auction, Kevin was all ready to bid for the sword and compete with anyone who challenged him. Before the auction, he had a chance to inspect the item. When Kevin went near the sword, he heard a whispering sound, and as he neared the sword, the sound loudened. The voices were clear, yet he couldn't understand as it was in an unknown foreign language. He looked around the hall, but he couldn't see anyone near the sword to think where the voice originated. When he looked around the corner, he saw a security guard who was listening to a pocket radio, which he thought was the origin of the whispering sound. Ah, Kevin thought to himself. With amazement, he went near the sword to have a good look and inspect it. The sword was separated from the cover and was displayed on two wooden pedestals. It looked very old as mentioned in the description and was authenticated by a sword expert. Kevin felt a bit weird, and there was an uneasiness in his mind at that time. The auction started. After various other antiques were auctioned, the piece Kevin eyed was brought to the spotlight. The auctioneer started the auction, but to the amusement of Kevin, no one bid for it. Kevin also overheard some lady whispering to her friend that this sword is cursed. Kevin was very happy, and he made his bid, and without any other distractions, he got the sword. He loved that this had a history, and being a critic himself, he didn't believe any of that curse story. Kevin woke up frightened in the middle of that night and was sweating like he had got into a shower with clothes on. Yes, Kevin was single, and if you think his wife or girlfriend was sleeping beside him, then no luck. Kevin couldn't remember the reason he was frightened. Kevin got up and went to the kitchen to have some water, and when he was passing the living room, he heard the same whispering sound from the cabinet he put the sword in that morning. Since he could not see a security guard with a pocket radio this time, he was a bit frightened, but was curious to search for the place where the sound was coming from. Kevin opened the cabinet, and as he grabs the sword by the cover, Kevin felt cold, and the surrounding changed from his living room to a cold mountaintop like he touched a magic wand where he can see ancient houses a little bit far away. Even though he is still in front of the cabinet and has not moved an inch, he now sees a vision where the sword bearer runs towards one of the houses. The sword bearer warrior kicked and opened the door where he sees a woman, two little kids, and a dead man beside them. In a flash, Kevin got upset and dropped the sword on the ground where it is separated from the cover. On the same instance, the vision Kevin had has vanished and he now can see the surrounding of his living room. Kevin scans across the room to see if he is still having the vision, and as he moves his head, he sees his Halloween decoration jack-o'-lanterns made from plastic with light bulbs hanging down his window. Wow, this could be a real Halloween, Kevin thought to himself. The focus of Kevin is now more towards the sword. He slightly sees some wording engraved on the sword handle. It is in a foreign language, probably Japanese. He grabbed his phone and took a picture of the wording and searched for the meaning on the app he has on his mobile. With a little amount of time, the phone shows the results. Dark ghosts must not be released from the house. What are the dark ghosts? Kevin thought, as he again touches the handle of the sword. The vision continues. He now can see the two children and the woman attacking the sword-bearing warrior, and he sees that they have been possessed by a demon of some sort. He now sees that the warrior fights intensely to avoid attacks from the demons. After a tense battle, he manages to slay the woman and the elderly child by decapitating their heads. The younger child has now moved to a corner and starts crying. "Why, my child? Are you afraid?" the warrior asks. I know what you're thinking at this moment. How does Kevin understand what the ancient Japanese guy is saying? Well, those are thoughts, and they are felt, not heard. When the warrior moves closer, the demon jumps at him with sharp teeth and claws. The warrior acts fast and pierces the sword through the demon's chest. Kevin drops the sword and kneels down. He now realizes the true story behind the sword. The warrior he saw was the ninja chieftain from the folktale, and it seems that the family was possessed by a demon. Now Kevin can see himself in the closet mirror in front of him, and he sees that he is sweating, and his face has become dark due to the trauma he envisioned a few minutes back. Dark ghosts must not be released from the house, Kevin thought. What is the meaning of that? While he thinks, he sees the handle of the sword has a hidden compartment, and there is a glass, test tube-like bottle that had been broken and some ash-like substance on the ground. Now Kevin sees the woman and the elder child he saw in his vision appearing in front of him. "Oh my God!" Kevin shouts. Dark ghosts must not be released from the house. The house, they mention on the engraving, means the glass tube! At once, Kevin hears a whisper in his ears, coming from behind him with absolute clarity. "Sayonara!" While Kevin sees the reflection of the small child from the mirror, the cursed sword pierces through Kevin's heart, splattering blood onto the mirror in front. Owari, the end.